Hey sis, I know you might be asking, why would an African American woman, a black woman, choose to retire in Panama and not in Africa? You're African after all. I know you might have asked. I'm going to tell you why. Stick with me. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Single Women Retiring Abroad. I'm Maggie Lazar, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, we are close to 2,000 subscribers. Let's see, we got 3 days. Oh, I'm sweating it. But c'est la vie, what will be, will be. Okay. Why did I choose to retire in Panama over Ghana, Rwanda? You know, a lot of us here as expats have done videos about why we chose Panama. And, you know, the weather, the food, the culture, location. But I just want to take you today through the process I use to come to the decision of choosing Panama, because this is such an important decision and it shouldn't be made lightly. It should not be made based on emotions. It should not be made because you came for a visit and it was ooh and ah. And we all do that when we come for that first visit. That's why we always say you need to come several times. You need to do your research, okay? As we grow and move through the different cycles of life, we ought to develop skills to help us make those decisions. We also must discover ourselves. You know, you hear me say a lot, know thyself. And I mean it. Because if I don't know who I am, I don't know what I like, what I dislike. I don't know what what do they call that? When something is I'm saying no brainer. It's not no brainer. It's like there is no way I'm even going to consider that situation, right? So you have to know, and that's why I have this self-assessment form, and I'm going to put it in the description again, that you need to say, I am this, I am that. Because when I was starting, opening my first business, I did such a thing. Not everybody is suited to be an entrepreneur. And not everybody, as I've told you in a video, not everybody is suited for life abroad. So know thyself, know how you make decisions, know how you handle difficulties, know how you handle the unexpected, right? And there are certain skill sets that you must possess. You need to know yourself. And sis, listen, it's you, it's me. You don't need to explain yourself to people. You don't need to make excuses, right? So if I choose to retire abroad, that brings a whole host of questions, people judging you. Blinders, you cannot afford to listen to those because you know you and you know what's best for you. And I say making decisions about how you're going to live the next 30, 40 years is yours alone and nobody else's. So how did I come to that decision? I am very aware of who I am. And believe it or not, I am still discovering things about me. You know, that Peace Corps fiasco was proof to me that there are certain things I can't live with or without. Okay. And I'm not apologizing for it. This is just me. And at the sunset of my life, I don't feel the need to explain myself to folks. I make a decision. I try to be tactful and understanding, but it's my life, my decision. So in 2019, and I'm going to take you through the process. 2019, let's see, I had sold my business. I had been traveling, and Panama Canal was one of the places I wanted to see, just like I wanted to see the Eiffel Tower, and I wanted to see Pisa, and I wanted to go to Rome and see the Colosseum. I did all those. But the Panama Canal. And after I did the European thing, I said, okay, I need to go to the Caribbean and Central America. I had been all the way down to Chile a couple of times in the 90s and love Chile. And I've always had an affinity with Latin culture. I love Spanish. I have been speaking Spanish, listening to Spanish radio at home, watching telenovelas. Oh, so it was like, what is it about this culture that attracts me? I don't know. But I wanted to see the canal. So it was a bucket list item. So I came, of course, alone, and I had a grand time, like most of you. But I remember meeting our guide, who was like a 20 something young woman. She was like many people. Her parents work in the canal, and then they took her to the US. She was raised in the US, went to college, and she was like maybe 24. And we were asking her because, she came and picked us up. She was a guide, it was her business. She was a surfer, all beautiful tan, bleach hair. And we say, why did you come to Panama? She's like, well, this is home. I was born here. And then after being in the US and I went to college, I decided I had enough. I don't want this kind of life. I'm coming back home. And we're like, oh, going back? Oh, no, I will never go back. Well, that was her, right? And she took us after we've been to, I think, Monkey Island, which most everybody goes to Monkey Island. You feed the little monkeys, you're on that river and the tropical nature. It was like, oh, this is feeling really good. And I think one of the things that really captivated me was she took us to lunch and we went, I'm not a foodie. I don't call myself a foodie. I'm a chef. I love food. I love to cook and I love fresh ingredients. So she took us to this cafe and we had lunch. Well, first of all, they served patacones, and me and patacones, we are sisters, okay? So I was like, patacones. I was like, check. And I don't know if I had fish or what, but then at the end, we asked for a smoothie. Um, as right. So we asked for a smoothie, and I could see where they were cutting the papaya, getting the fresh pineapple, the watermelon, and my eyes just popped. And I'm like, you mean it's not from a frozen bag? You actually get the fresh fruit to make the smoothie? Sold. Something so simple. I know it. I know it. I did not look at homes. I did not look at neighborhoods, but it was that the food and the freshness did something to my spirit, and there was an instant connection. So connection to me is important. I don't know if it is for you, and it should be, because if you're going to live in a place, you have to see how you relate to the place, to the food, to the people. So that was like, oh, I love this place. And I wasn't thinking about retirement at that time. It was like, I'd like to come back for another vacation, like a lot of you have done. So that was the first thing that connected me to Panama. And then I went home, then COVID happened, right? 2020, I'm working as a nurse supervisor in a facility. And lo and behold, I got COVID. That facility was horrible in terms of infection control. They had us reuse masks. I remember I worked weekends, and I remember in one section, I had some people who were exhibiting symptoms, and I told them, I said, you probably need to check those folks, because they're old and fragile. And I said, you need to test them because once they test positive, they're going to have to take them out and put them in quarantine. So I come back the next weekend, and these people were still there. And now they were in full blown COVID. And I'm like, did you get my message? Because I'm very diligent about writing a detailed report to management. They're like, oh, yeah, we got it, but they were never tested. And of course, this thing just spread all over the place. And I ended up with COVID, ended up in the hospital for 4 days. So God was good to me. I wasn't on a ventilator and I made it out. And that facility There was one lady who did education who texted me, I think on the day I was being discharged, and she said, "How are you feeling? Are you ready to come back?" And I was like, "Really?" The DON never called me, the administrator didn't call me, and I was a supervisor. They didn't give a flip whether I lived or died. And somebody, a staff member, had died in that facility, the first one that we had lost. So I was like, when I got back home, COVID did something for us. It made us reevaluate our priorities. And I was like, you don't care about me. I could have died. I'm out of here. So I sent an email saying, since you didn't care about me, I'm going to care about me now. I will not return. And automatically they took me off the email list, and it was instant. So that's how it happened. And I think COVID also, there was, a knee-jerk reaction, people leaving, the great resignation, all that happened with COVID. And that happens with major disasters, unfortunately. So I started thinking, okay, I'm leaving this job. What else is there? I mean, I was in my late 50s. I mean, I was strong, and I meant to work till I was 65. And my early retirement story is another video that I'll do for you guys. But I started reevaluating what it is that I wanted to do. So that's when I was like, well, I might need to leave this nursing profession, because since they don't care about me, why should I stay and keep exposing myself to the next superbug, right? And I started thinking, well, maybe I need to, because, Africa had done much better in COVID, and especially Ghana. And, I've read something about it being close to the equator and the sun, and that vitamin D, because a lot of COVID patients were really deficient in vitamin D. I don't know. But I said, well, I've always had an affinity for Ghana. I had done my ancestry DNA, and I have roots in Nigeria. I'm Yoruba. And also, what's the other country? I forgot the other country. But of course, we all come from there. I said, okay, I'm going to go to Ghana. And if you guys remember, the president of Ghana, probably before COVID, came to the US, and I remember his speech. And he's like, come home, no longer will somebody come in and take you on a ship and enslave you, blah, blah, blah. And it was a great PR move, and people started selling everything and going to Ghana. And I'm not usually caught up in the hysteria, because I'm not that kind of person. I'm very rational. But I was like, I'm going to go check it out, because I was still in that I want to travel kind of mode. So in 2021, I got me a 5-year visa, took my yellow fever shot, and got on a plane and went to Ghana. I was so excited. And I was like, maybe I can have some business ideas there. I could take my nursing background. I can open an assisted living. I can teach. My head was full of dreams and options and hopes. When I went to Ghana, I had hooked up with this woman who was Ghanaian, but living in the UK. She created opportunities for diaspora, and she called us, who wanted to return, but you wanted to test the waters. So what you would do like some kind of an internship with a business on the ground to see how you would maneuver, how you could transition. So having said that, I decided, she made it possible for me to go to a hospital in Ghana for 3 weeks as an intern. I wasn't going to be doing any hands-on because I'm not licensed in the country, but I could observe. So when I went to Accra, I was in an Airbnb. Accra is the capital, but the hospital that I was going to be there for 3 weeks was in is it Tame? Tema. So for 3 weeks, I Ubered back and forth Monday to Friday into that little hospital. And maybe I'll do another video because it was an eye opener. But after the 3 weeks, after observing and talking to the people and watching, I started feeling a little bit that that connection wasn't there. I did not think it was going to work. They had a nursing building, a nursing school right next to the hospital. When I look at the hospital, I was like, okay, first of all, I could not work in that environment. I watched a doctor, how should I phrase this nicely? Talking to an intern, a junior, in a most humiliating way. And it took all I had for my American mindset not to jump on and say, how dare you talk to her like that? But I refrained myself. And I was like, that culture would be a hard thing for me to process and to get over. So I knew the hospital wasn't going to be it. So finally I said, oh, well, maybe I can teach. So doing my exit interview with the team, and let me tell you, Ghanaian people are so lovely, the kindest people, joyful people. And I was asking him because he had been recruited from the UK. And I said, well, I noticed a lack of assertiveness and self-directedness and critical thinking. I don't know how I put it, but I'm sure because I really slaved over how I was going to frame my thought so that I don't come across as being critical. Um, and then he said to me, no, 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 no. All the curriculum is set by this board and you cannot deviate. I said, well, I think it would be helpful for the student nurses to learn. No, he's like, no can do. He said, you have to stand behind the lantern. You can't even walk in the classroom. Um, that distance, you'd have to maintain that distance because you're the professor and they're down here. And I started thinking that that kind of mindset would really be a hindrance for me because I'm just too forward thinking and assertive and critical thinking person. And if I'm trying, I taught one semester in the US and I loved it because the kids were ready to take whatever I was trying to share. But I felt that in this environment, I was just going to go against everything. The people in charge, the parents, and the students would be retreating. No, ma'am, no, mom, we can't do this because, they say please for everything. And it's a culture. I am not making light of it, nor am I making a critique. I'm just saying this is what I found. All right, before I forget, I'm looking at the time. Please stop what you're doing, hit the like button, share the video at the end, and please subscribe if you have not done so. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. I remember to do it. So that was an eye opener for me. And again, going back to know thyself, I know myself. I know it would be really hard for me to maneuver in that environment. And when I mentioned opening the assisted living, because you have a lot of adult children who have their parents back home, would really love for somebody to take care of them. But I think I would still have to work within the confine of that culture. And this is the thing I came to understand. Yes, we are all Africans, but I was not raised in Africa. Therefore, the culture is different. Just because I have brown skin doesn't mean I can blend in anywhere and be myself because we are just so far apart. And I'll mention that about Panama here. We have things about Panama also, but it's not to the level of what I saw in Ghana. In Ghana, I saw a sense of fatalism. Is what's the word? It was like, this is the way it is. We don't know any other way of doing it. And this is what got me. We're not interested to change. Whatever it is that you're thinking and you want to bring over here, we're not really interested. Now that's kind of hard, right? So if I'm going to be opening a business, I'm going to hire people and I'm going to have to come across that lack of They don't take initiative. And, and it's not just me. I read those in the Facebook groups. Yes. The passivity, they're very passive and they really don't want to change it because that's the status quo. And that would drive me absolutely bananas. Now, I'm a retiree, right? I felt that if I were maybe 20 years younger, and I would give myself 5 years to kind of come to Jesus and embrace, and I think I could. But there were other things about Ghana that I did not like. The infrastructure was horrible. The roads, my God, my road to Tema, one Friday, it took me 3 hours to get home. It was stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, and sometimes stop, no go. The healthcare, there were some horrible stories, people not knowing what to do in an emergency. And I think towards the end, I was reading about there was a hospital that was in Accra that was made the, the brainchild of a diasporan who was here and back over there, but it was sketchy. It was sketchy. People had died on the way. Ambulance, the emergency services is kind of non-existent. We have some of that here. It's not that bad. Over there it was scary. That there was something also about if you rent, then you have to pay 12 months ahead. What if I don't like it? And then the scamming, it was like, it's a no-go for me. Language, TWI, as I realize now, as I'm older, it's not as easy for me to learn a brand new language. It was going to be a problem. The food, please don't come at me. I did not like fufu. I did not like banku. Did not like it at all. I had the tilapia, the fish. It was salty and all that soupy, greasy thing that they mix in. Not me. And using my hand was a problem for me. So please don't come at me. Moi, know thyself. So if I know myself and I know it's going to be difficult, I do not feel the need to put myself in difficult situation. So please, I am not apologizing to you. And whatever you say doesn't matter because that was me. That was my decision. Okay. So, and then there are a lot of people in Africa who do not really welcome African Americans because they say, you're not African. Even though we say we were, rubbed there and dragged to the Caribbeans and blah, blah, blah. There was this fight about people should get automatic citizenship, and people were like, no, hell no, you're not going to do that. So Ghana is beautiful. The other thing I worried about was malaria. I took my yellow fever shot, but that is not a vaccine. I met people who had been on there like 4th or 5th time getting malaria, and that was a concern for me. And again, I'm an older woman. Okay, what I wanted to say though, those 3 things that I mentioned that you look for in a country, cost of healthcare. Well, if there's no healthcare, the cost doesn't matter, right? What was it again? Cost of healthcare, cost of living. People tell you, like we tell people here, it's not cheap to live over there. Don't think that because it's Africa, everything is cheap. No. In the presence of an expat community, the people moving to Ghana were much younger. And even though I watched a video of Wodemaya, who is the most popular YouTuber in Ghana, probably in Africa, there is like a small enclave of older women, but not that many. People come from Jamaica and go and settle there. There are people who have been there for like 30, 40 years, right? And I feel that they have a better connection to Ghana, but I just did not get it. I'm not apologizing for it, but it is what it is. So I was like, based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's a no for me. And I'm not sorry I did not go because that wasn't my place. So after I left Ghana, I went to Rwanda. I said, well, let me check another one. Okay, because you know, there are 54 countries. I still have my visa expires next year, and I'm hoping maybe I'd go back. The other thing too, the distance, after being in South Africa and being on that plane for 14, 16 hours, I'm not interested in that long flight anymore. So, not. Okay. So took a plane 5 hours to the east and went um to Rwanda. Another thing that I like with any country I look at, I need to be close to the water, enough to the water that I can drive to the beach if I need to. Ghana has beautiful beaches. Rwanda is landlocked. And with all the little things going on with the DR and people going across the borders and the little strife they have going on, I was like, I don't really like that. And in Rwanda, I was there only a few days, but the spirit was not there. People stared. And I went to a little town outside of Kigali, and I met this guy who I think he was a baby during the genocide, and the man was still traumatized. A lot of people are still traumatized. And I think what really put the nail in the coffin for me was when I went to the museum, the Genocide Museum. Oh my God. My whole body, my heart, my soul was so sad and traumatized. The pictures, when I walked in the back and they had the slab in the back, and I was like, what is that? And they tell me this is where the bodies are. And I was like, okay. And I know that the country has done so much to overcome that. And I don't think there's something I can say here, but I just felt that I was just in. And you know, I mean, listen, we have trauma in the US. You know how they did us. And I've been looking at some indigenous communities, the Indians, and the stuff that they did. I mean, mankind is, we can be such horrible human beings. The thing we do to ourselves, it just blows my mind what we can do to each other. So it didn't take me long to realize cost of healthcare, that they say the healthcare is good in Rwanda. I had not experienced it. Um, the cost of living, probably on par with Ghana. I did not like the food at all there. You know what they have? They have pepper sauce, something really hot they put on everything, but no other spices, just pepper sauce. And I was like, no. You have to season my food. So I did not like the food there at all. There's something about a milk drink and no, that was a no for me. So I left Africa feeling dejected. I felt so disappointed because I was truly hopeful that I could make it work. But knowing me, I was like, I don't think it's going to work because, you know, I don't know how long I have. I don't know if I have 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I just, no, it wasn't going to work for me. So in 2022, I said, well, let me go back and recheck Panama. So I made 2 trips in 2022. And each time the feeling, the connection, it wasn't an ooh and ah element anymore. It was like, I could see myself here. I feel good. I'm warm. There's no cold. It's close enough to the US. I speak Spanish. Okay, this could work. This could work. So that's when I went and started doing research and realized the multi-ethnicity. And of course, they have their own histories, you know, with the colonialism. We all do, it seems. But, and then when I experienced the people, they were not, I did not get the sense that this is it, this is the way it's going always to be, I don't want to change. People are a bit progressive. There are some people who are thinking ahead, want to change things. And then there is a sense of peace. They are peaceful people. They are not into violence, retaliation, and they don't look at us like the invading species. Is just like, you know, everybody else is human as well come. So those are my thought process and how I came to choose Panama over Africa. So please do not come with your comments about I'm a sellout. Rolls off, rolls off. I'm 66 years old. I did not live to be this long to worry about what people think about me. Okay. So I am here trying to live a peaceful life and trying to bring something to the table. I want to bring something to this community to give back because my mind is still good. Thank you, Lord. So we are here. I am here because I've connected to the place. The three things for Panama: cost of healthcare. We talked about that a lot. Cost of living, even though it's not cheap, but I can choose to live within my means. No one's going to ask me to pay for 12 months rent ahead of time. And I don't even know how that's even legal in Ghana. And language, I speak enough Spanish to get by. Expat community, we have community. I'm creating community. So all in all, Panama checked most of my boxes. So sis, please do your self-assessment, know yourself, know what you want in the country, and be sensitive to the, I don't want to say vibration, it sounds really new agey, and I'm not into any of that. But you need to feel in your spirit that you can connect, you can relate to the place, that you're not going to be dropped into some foreign land and you're just like, oh my God, what have I done? You have to kind of connect on a deep level with the place that you're considering. And that's why you need to go back time after time. I made 4 visits. When I got here on my 4th visit, that's when I stayed in 2023. Okay. So those were my reasons and how I came to decide, nope, that's not going to work. Nope, that's not going to work. And you don't have to apologize to anyone for making your decision. I've been here almost 2 years and I have not regretted it one day. That says a lot, right? You know, when you move, you still miss the place. You go and you visit. I remember when I went to visit and I got behind the wheel of a car, I had a rental, and I hadn't driven in so long. It felt nice, but still, most of us, when we go home, we can't wait to come back here. I know, that would make people call us sellout or whatever. But there's something about this place, the air, the humidity, what it does to your skin. Seriously, I'm telling you. I don't have to tell you, you know. If you're here, you know. But anyway, those are my reasons for moving to Panama, and I love it. Um, will I be here till I die? I don't know. I don't have any plans to do anything at this time, but you know, the world is a big place, and I don't say their words. I don't use in my vocabulary, always and never, because I'm always leaving myself open to whatever God, the universe, is sending towards me. So I want to thank you for watching to the end. I hope you understand how I came to choose Panama and the path you should take to decide. I mean, you may have come to Panama yourself and just say, this is it, you know, and it's okay. But it's nice to compare with to somewhere else. So don't just keep yourself, to one choice. All right, so I'm going to stop here. It's 33 minutes, and thank you for hanging with me and for watching to the end. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if I make it to the 2,000 subscribers by July 31st, I still have to 11:59. I'll be sure to let you guys know, do a quick little video to let you know. But I want to thank you because I still have a lot to share with you because this country is so beautiful and there's so many of you who are considering Panama. All righty. Thank you for watching. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir. Well, today I decided to go get a flu shot. They were giving them at the mall. And yes, we had lines, but we had a jubilado line, and it wasn't bad at all. And Panama does that regularly, giving out vaccines. Lines. Hey, I'm in Panama. At least I found the place. So hopefully before the day is over, I'll get the shot. I've never had a flu shot. I've always stayed away from it, but all right. It's the rainy season and there is an uptick in influenza. So I got mine. Yes, I did. Discovering Panama with Maggie.